Hello and welcome to the Love You Bunch's Plain Jane shoe tutorial. My name is Chris and today I'm going to show you how I make these adorable little doll shoes. The question most often asked about doll shoe construction is how do you glue the shoe top to the insole and get a nice curved edge around the toe? Well, in this video I'm going to show you two different techniques to get rid of those nasty little points that form when you wrap the top over the insoles. But before we get into the gluing, let's talk about pressing. The iron is your friend. The only difference between this shoe and this shoe is pressing. Pressing the shoe opening and pressing the seam at the back makes a difference between a shoe that looks like a sloppy slipper and a shoe that looks professional and sharp. Okay, let's make the companion to this little shoe. I'm going to pick up with step 7 in the pattern. I've already attached the fusible craft Pellon to the insole fabric and cut the insoles. I really like the Pellon instead of cardboard. It's much easier to use and it's one less thing that has to be glued. In the pattern it says to clip around the edges of the top. Moving forward, I'm going to make that optional. I think it's just one less step that you have to do, and you still get a fabulous result if you don't clip around there. I've also trimmed the lining, so we're ready to start gluing. First, we want to check the fit. Place the insole inside the shoe top and shoo your kitty away. And make sure that the insole rests inside the stitching. That's your guide for getting it placed correctly. Now, if you're using thicker fabric, sometimes this is going to be a little bit too tight of a fit. You can always trim the back, the heel portion, so that everything fits inside that stitching. Okay. Another question that's asked frequently is what kind of glue do I use? I use Aleene's Fast Grab Tacky Glue or the Super Thick Tacky Glue. It's a consistency of toothpaste. And it dries quickly, but not so quickly that you can't go back and make some changes. Now, one of the problems, though, with being so thick is that the glue tends to stay down at the bottom. So I had to find a way, a holder, to keep the glue upside down, to keep the glue up here so it would go out smoothly. My holder of choice is by Scott Tissue. And you just put your glue upside down, and it keeps the glue at the top. Okay. Let's get started. I'm going to place a little ribbon of glue around the edge of the insole. I'm going to put ample amount there because I want to make sure that there's enough that goes into the fabric so that it sticks together. And you can start either at the top or the heel and just start folding the fabric over the insole and around the sole, around the insole. Now you may have to do this a couple of times until the fabric soaks up enough glue to make it stick. But just keep going around and around. You also want to make sure that the stitch line is about 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of the insole so that it doesn't show when the shoe is finished. Okay. Now, one of the ways to get rid of a point is to simply pick up the fabric on the back and flatten it out. Another way is to turn to the front of the shoe and just roll it between your fingers. Roll the fabric back. And just go around, make sure that all the edges are nice and smooth. Okay, so the two ways that you can get rid of the points, lift up the fabric on the back and replace it, lay it flat and firm, or just roll your finger across the top. Okay, let's put this aside and look at cutting the foam. Make sure that that's all stuck down nice. Okay, I already have my other piece of foam cut, but I'm going to show you how I do this as well. And if you're a beginner and you're a little bit worried about getting a nice seal across and around the edge of the shoe, I suggest that you use a colored sole that's pretty close to the fabric. Okay, you're going to need a scissors that's very sharp and something with a long blade. The more often you start and stop as you start trimming around your sole, the more points there's going to be, the more little jagged edges. So here we go. I'm going to make a stop here because I want to go all the way around the front without stopping. And I want to keep the scissors perpendicular to the foam so that it's a nice flat edge and you don't get that beveled look. Okay, now for the example, I've used permanent marker so that you could see that. Of course, if I was really doing this, I'd use water soluble and just wipe it off so that there's no trace of the marking for the sole. And then, if you do find that there's any spots that are a little bit jagged, you can always use a little piece of sandpaper or a nail file and just go around the edge of your sole and get rid of all of those edges. And that's that. So now let's go ahead and just do the finishing touches. I'm not going to put quite as much glue on the sole as I did around the insole. And this time, I'm also going to take my finger and just ease it out to the edge. Make sure I've got good coverage all the way around. Oh. And place the shoe top on top of the sole. Make sure it's all centered. And start squeezing. Just squeeze it between your fingers. If you have any excess glue, make sure that you wipe that off. And just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until it's secure around the edge. Okay, now I know that there are some people out there that use clips to hold while it's drying. I don't do that. I also don't put a book on top of it to make sure that it stays, that the soles and the top stay glued real nicely together. I think the glue dries fast enough that I don't worry about that. For the first few minutes, I just kind of keep looking at it to make sure that all of it sticks properly. And then just set it aside. Make sure that it dries all the way before you put it on your doll. If you put it on your doll before it's all the way dry, what's going to happen is it's going to curl because her feet curl, and it's also going to pull the sole away from the top. And that's it. Be sure and check the pattern for more tips on shoe construction. Thanks for joining me today, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me at loveyoubunches@austin.rr.com. Thank you.